coming to you from the studios at Cybertron HQ.
Hi there, friends, and welcome to the introductory episode of Not Ready to Grow Up, part of the Versus Player podcast family. We are your regular hosts. I'm Joe.
I'm Jono.
On each episode, us two best mates who are on either side of 40 are going to invite you in on one of the millions of conversations that we've had about the nerdy things we are passionate about.
Millions.
And it was breakfast this morning, right?
Exactly.
Unlike over at Versus Player, which is our video game podcast, this podcast will focus on the nerdy paraphernalia that surrounds modern pop culture, which really, Jono, we've been engraved in our whole lives, right?
Oh, this room is evidence to that.
Absolutely. And it was like back in the day when this was not the shape of the world as it is right now. Like today, it's pretty much fashionable to be a nerd, or like at least to like the Avengers and know who the Avengers are besides just Spider-Man.
I'll get onto that in
Exactly
the future
right.
episode. Don't worry about that.
So on this introductory episode, we're going to keep it short. We're just going to start by letting you know a little bit about who we are and some of the topics we'll be chatting about in the future. Yep. So, Jono, how did you get to be the giant, beautiful nerd you are today?
Oh, how did I get to be? That's a really tough one to pin down because I was surrounded by nerdy pop culture from very young. But
was it in your family growing up? Like, was it just you, or was it like...
Oh, no, it was all me.
All you.
So probably the biggest one, the massive influence in my childhood would have been Transformers.
Yeah.
And that actually ended up leading to a whole heap of other paths. So it started with the Transformers cartoon, and my first Transformer led to comics, because I started buying Transformers comics, which then led to Marvel and the Avengers. I always loved Lego as a kid. G.I. Joe came in with Transformers. There's a comic series at the same time, and the toys went with that. And then it's exploded from there with video games starting to bring in even more of that. So, Star Wars was mixed in there for various reasons, which I'll talk about in future episodes. So, yeah, I can see how all the nerdy things in my life, most of them started with Transformers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very cool. And obviously, we're going to talk a lot about Transformers in the future. Lego's a big kind of shared thing between us both. Like for me, I guess going back again, there was my immediate family, no one really understood me when I was young.
Oh,
like,
ditto.
Just like, why is he watching these cartoons and, reading the comics and watching Star Wars and playing with toys and, still doing all those things. Like we said, like near 40.
Near 40.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, either side of 40, so exactly. I'm the one just below. No, but growing up, it was one of my best mates growing up, Gianpaolo. He was massively into Star Wars. We worked for, what was it called? Star Walking, I think it was a Star Wars fan club growing up. And
we were definitely roving the same circles.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's where it started with Star Wars. But in high school, came into a crowd, people who were into Japanese animation. Yeah. Neon Genesis is the big one, still my big love to this day. But yes, now like I'm married and I've got 3 kids, all under 10. I'm a teacher, so teaching young kids, I have my interests and hobbies, and it kind of aligns with the kind of people I get to surround myself with as well, which is interesting. But yes, for me, the big one is still today is Star Wars. Yeah. And obviously, like we've got our Versus Player podcast. Yep. If anyone's listening to this, who's listened to that, video games is the other big thing that we're kind of into too. So,
but it's a big melting pot of all those sorts of things. So it's the reason why we spun this part off, because there's so much we love to talk about when it comes to pop culture.
Absolutely.
Toys and books and accessories that, it definitely fills its own podcast.
Yeah, and we want to try and keep the podcasts these quite short. Something people they can kind of get into, get a bit of information about, listen along with us. We and again, it's a nice excuse for us to sit down together and talk about nerdy things.
Excuse.
Our first episode we want to talk about some Lego. Yeah, and we'll specifically talking about Lego minifigures. Yeah, but down the line, obviously there'll be Transformers. There's going to be comics. There's going to be Star Wars.
G.I. Joe, Nerf, which is something we haven't even mentioned.
Yeah, we're both really into. My son is into it in a massive way as well now, which is really cool. I know your nephew is too. Yeah. So lots of things to come up in the future. We hope you kind of listen along with us. If you found this on a podcast app and you want to see what we are talking about, you can check us out on YouTube, or vice versa. If you want to listen to us while you're traveling and are on YouTube now, you can find us on iTunes and other podcast services, all under Not Ready to Grow Up. Well, thank you, Jono.
Thank you, Joe.
We hope you join us next episode where we will chat about Lego minifigures. Thanks for listening, and until next time, stay young at heart.